myself, maybe not you, but for myself. You look out there and see your wonderful face. Today, so we're going to wrap up the story about Samson, and we've been looking at him a few on everything. In this chapter, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of details. I'm going to try not to stretch it. It's important to say. Anyway, some things that as I studied it that were impressive to me. I'm going to make some applications that, from what I see here, that we think about us. I always want you to take it the right way, because I know I may not always say everything that would be like pleasing. I try not to be insulting in any way. And whatever I share with you, by the way, that's always everybody else as well as I preach to myself. I put myself in the same category. Okay, so we want to. Or afterward, it happened that he was Delilah, and I titled this thing "The Philistines Are Upon You," because he uses this sentence or this phrase here in verse 9. In verse 9. And in verse 12, and you can look down to verse 20, Delilah's like a trap for this guy. Now, oftentimes, the enemy is upon us. Homes all the time, right? Nearly every day we leave our homes and go about our business, whether it's to work. At least every week we usually get out and leave, and I think about Satan. And when I say enemy, I'm not talking about people. I'm sure I have some enemies. I don't have. They're not. How you put this? On my side, I don't look at them as enemies, but on their side, they may look at me as an enemy. Okay. Enemies, when we say things that other people don't like, and there's some people that's all nothing, right? And they hold it against you, and you can't do a thing in the world about that sometimes. And people are people. When we leave our homes, which is our real enemy, we don't think about what might happen. Like Samson, the enemy's upon us. He's right there. It's a mental battle that we're really facing. It's not so much of the physical things that we go. It's mental, the stresses and the things that really. And Satan is working mental battles today, right up here. And if he can discourage from going to church, he can discourage you from reading the Bible, from praying, from seeking a closer relationship. He's all about it, and he's at it, and we're not his friends, and he's out today. If there's a real God, there's a real devil. Okay, you ain't gonna have one without the other. It's kind of long. When we are in the wrong place at the wrong time, we end up in trouble. So what we find out in chapter with Samson we looked at was that the Philistines come attacking him. His people had to the Philistines, but instead of those Philistines getting Samson and make come shouting at him, which meant they come attacking him, which was the last thing you want to do. jawbone of the donkey, and he slays 1,000 people. The Spirit of the Lord come upon him. And he might have been an extra strong man. I mean, we don't know what he looked like. Most of us probably picture him as an extra strong guy. But he had heap upon heap of people, 1,000 men he slew with a jawbone. I can't imagine why they kept coming at him, you right? Then after that, I mean, you know, I don't know. I guess God was in that. They just couldn't stop themselves. You ever done something? You ever thought that, you know, maybe? I guess maybe it was something like that. So we see that, and so this was like a high time. Imagine after you be involved in something like that, you must feel like that, you know, that must be the life. That's a high time for Samson. Well, you can always look out. You had them really good times of life. You can always look. You can expect it coming. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. You might as well expect this coming. It seems like a high time in our life. Next thing you know, something bad is going to happen. I mean, it's just the way life is. So here we get into chapter 16, and I don't know how much time has gone by here. In a total, it says Samson judged Israel for 20 years after this, or it could have been a few days, could have been right after this. Down by the Mediterranean, and it's Philistine territory, and he sees this prostitute. He sees a harlot, and he should have just walked on by. And you know, this is Samson's problem right here. He just couldn't. And you know what happens when he does that. And she's a Philistine too. I mean, it's their enemy. With the women. I mean, you know, look, this man was after one thing, you know. You know what I'm saying? He was after one thing. He called them the Gazites, just because they were from Gaza. And when these people around him found out and heard it, forces, and they surrounded the house that night. Okay? And Samson must have looked out the window or something, and he's seen these people. And the Bible says that Samson just kind of snuck out at midnight. You know, he was just trying to avoid conflict, which was usually unlike Samson. For whatever reason, he decided he was going to sneak away. And so he kind of, and this is verses 1 through 3, so Samson sneaks out at midnight, and he goes to the city wall. And I guess they do that, keep enemy out in the evening, you know, like you lock your front door. Samson just takes the gates and all. He takes the gates and all, pulls them right up out of the ground, rips them right off the hinges, puts them on his shoulders, and walks right out natural feet. And so he takes gate and all, and he goes with these doors, as the Bible calls them, and he goes all the way up. Now, Hebron is somewhat like about 30-something miles from Gaza. And so I know he took these things all the way up the high hill where he could see that area of Hebron. Well, he was a man's man, wasn't he? He was a man's man. And but the thing about, I have to applaud Samson on this, because look, he was doing something. He was a man of God. He wasn't supposed to be in there with a heart. And he's in the wrong place, right? At the wrong time. for what he did, he walked away this time. But you know, how many of you know that in the wrong place at the wrong time? Some trouble's going to happen. And I can tell you the number on self that you hear tell somebody, or maybe somebody in your family, or maybe even yourself, sometime in the past, right? And there's trouble. And one of the first thoughts you have is, you know, if they'd been at home where they're supposed to be, right? Then none of in the wrong place, at the wrong time, and then trouble happens. And if you hang with the wrong crowd, influenced by the wrong people, and when we hang around a lot of times wrong. Now I'm not going to tell you that you should never go around the wrong crowd. And sure ain't going to tell you to be around them, you know, because we're supposed to be the light of the world. We're supposed to be that good testimony, right? And we don't have to be afraid of people. And we can go around what they're like, you know. And they need people. They need good people in their lives too. But you have to be careful if you associate with them too much, because you find your lifestyle that they're living, and it'll drag you down in sin. And so Samson had, you see what I mean? He never had them on. It's kind of sad to say, though, and when he picked up the doors and took them with him. This came at a time when, and I've used this word before, I don't know, it comes to me a lot. When it came in the process of time, Adam and Eve's kids, Cain and Abel, and they would offer sacrifice. Tell you explicitly, they knew what they were supposed to offer, and it was an offering, you know, of a lamb or flesh of some sort, and it was a blood offering that God would. In the process of time come, and they would all give an offering. The Bible said that they will offer. That would have been a blood offering. But Cain, he brought an offering of produce because he worked the field. But that's not the kind of offering he was supposed to give. He knew that. And that's what we're pleased with Cain and his offering. And it says, if you do well, and if you do not well, sin lies at the door. And its desires for you. Evil comes upon us, and Satan comes upon us, and temptation comes upon us, and wants to control us. God said, if we basically saying that if we resist evil, we resist doing those things that's wrong, then we're ruling over our life. The devil rule your life. You want to fall into every addiction that there is out there and fall into all this stuff and these whole, or do you want to rule your own life, or you want the devil to control your life? And we ain't going to get to heaven. We need to be in charge of what we do instead of letting our love run our life. I mean, that's up to you. Ain't nobody makes us, right, fall into a hole. Ain't nobody makes us do that. We do it when we don't resist temptation and we do what's wrong. Number two, I'm going to say, temptation is stronger. We get into verse 4, and we find that it says that he loved a woman, right? Again, was Philistine territory, and she was a Philistine girl. he loved this woman. Now this woman, Delilah. She's going to be. She's going to lead to the end of his ministry. She's going to lead to the end of his life. But it ain't came in, right? It would have never happened like this. He loved the woman. I mean, it's just a downfall here. He was a great weakness in life. We all have weakness, by the way. And we all have to be careful about that particular. I know that they have issues with stuff and they have problems and they have addictions. I don't look down on people like that. I know what that's like to do things that you ain't supposed to do. And but we can't give in to everything and think everything's going to go good. It's not going to happen. You know what? Samson was not wrong. Ain't nothing wrong with loving a woman. It can be nice to love a woman. It can be nice. But you love the wrong kind. He was always loving the wrong kind of woman. He loving the enemy, killing the man. He was weak. She was purty. Right? She was purty. And I just couldn't resist the sin. No. But we need to be careful what type of person that we pick. We're in control of who you like and who you want to be with. And some people are the wrong person. I'm just going to tell you, they just. I really do. I mean, try to do the best you can, try to work things out, try to keep it together. Some people just hook up. Don't do that. Look for the right kind of person. Because it ain't going to lead you nowhere good when you're with the wrong person. And that can happen. And Samson became weaker. We can see a digression here. So the Philistines came to Delilah, and they told Delilah, said, if you will, and with your beauty and your charm, and find out what his weakness is, all of us will get. She don't want to tell you. Samson, he loved the wrong kind of women. And that's all she cared about, by the way. She didn't care about him. She cared about this right here. Yeah, people do it today. And you ain't got to be riches either. Some people will be with this person because they're all about that. And some people are super. I know that's Samson. And she's pretty. I like her. I got to have her. You know what? It's like a car. What's under the hood counts. That's what they used to say. Now you might say it's in the inside. It's what's under the hood counts. And that's good. But beauty fades. Nobody can retain that. But what's on the inside is going to go on and hopefully to improve in people. The inside, not so much what's on the outside. So Delilah comes up, and Delilah begins to, and to start with, Samson lies about it. He wasn't supposed to tell her, you know. He was a Nazarite. He wasn't supposed to give his secret. If you tie me up with some bowstrings, fresh bowstrings, he said, then that'll hold me down. And look, he's with Delilah, right? She ties him up. She tells the Philistines that they go get these fresh bowstrings. And then he goes to sleep that night, right? And she says, Samson, the Philistines are upon you, right? And he breaks them like they're nothing. And he's mad with them, you know, and they go through this again. You messing with me. What's the real source of your strength? How can you can't get out? Hello, don't he see through this? I mean, this sounds like a pretty, I guess you can't, you know? I mean, love struck, right? You know, been there, done that, right? Been there, done that. You act stupid, all crazy. You're like, somebody needs to, wake that person up. But they will wake up eventually, right? A psychotic type of infatuation, you know. Eventually we wake up. He said, if you tie me up with fresh ropes that's never been used before, he said, now then, you'll have. and so she gets fresh ropes and she ties Samson up. Hey, that's a good sleeper, huh? How many of you like to sleep like Samson sleeps? I mean, he was a sleep boy. She tied sleep. The Philistines are upon you. And he breaks them like they're nothing. Oh, she's getting madder now. You messing with me? I can imagine, I could hear it going on and on and on. And, well, weave it in the locks and weave it into the loom and all. That'll do it. But notice here, this is the third time that Samson's getting weaker here. The secret of his strength. He's getting really close to telling how God has moved in his life. He's this close to betraying selling out God for what he wants. She does that night. I guess this man's still sleeping through anything. Him has never been cut since he's been born, supposed to be, and weaves this into the loom, and same thing again, third time around. He gets up, man, just rips that stuff to shreds. She's on him now, and she goes on day after day. It says she's standing and gives in and tells her the real thing. I've been a Nazarite since my mother's womb. Since I was born, he said we're not supposed to cut our hair, and if my hair's cut, I'm going to be just as be a plain man. She calls in that night. Somebody, they shaved it. He's still sleeping through all this stuff. Shaves off his hair. He gets up. Samson! And they come in, and this time his power is gone. Samson breaks the rule of the Nazarite vow. We've already seen previously he broke the third rule he was to follow. And that brings me to my last point. Departs from the faith, things always become worse in our life. And it's bad. And it's going to be bad for him. 20. Or, well, it says, Samson says, "When I will go out as before, as other times, and shake myself free from him." And the Philistines took him. And I'm going to tell you what was the expression, guilt written all over you. How many of your mama told you that one time? You've heard that, right? Guilt written all over your face, son. Written on his face, Ichabod. Ichabod written all over him. And you can find in the story about that in 1 Samuel chapter 4. And Ichabod, that was what was written in Samson's life. Because God had departed from this man's life. Delilah starts tormenting with the word it used. And I went to the original in the Hebrew, and it used where it translated into English, it used the word humiliating. Woman, he wanted this woman used him, didn't care nothing about him. All she cared about was a dollar bill. And she started, can you imagine how evil this is? I mean, look, he has gone, married this Philistine woman, and she won't nothing like this. But he wasn't supposed to do this thing, and it didn't end up well. And then he turns into this prostitute, and she won't rock her. And now he's picked this woman, and she's worse of him. He's just gone down the tubes. It's from, and she's played him like a fiddle. Is what she. Not to see it. He's not going to help himself. She gets up. She just badmouths him. She's enjoying the enemy coming. After she's been in there right with him, like that, and humiliates and mocks him and makes fun of him. And nowhere does it say in the end of this story that was a cold-hearted, evil person devil had used to destroy this man's life. And they put him in chains and bound Samson and put him into prison. Samson would never be the victorious. He did some good though, but he would never. Now he's coming to his end. The end. And you can read the story for yourself. They take him and cut it short. They take Samson and they bring him out in the arena. He's blind. He's bound. All the Philistines gathering around, enjoying it. 3,000 of them, and all the leadership and the lords of the Philistines had all gathered. And they were going to enjoy this thing. Their enemy, watching what happens. Taking Samson out into the arena, and Samson asked him if you just, and they take him to the two main pillars. And God had allowed Samson's hair. Some time had gone by. This man lived in humility. He lived, and And some time had gone by. Enough time for his hair to grow out. That's a good amount of time. But God, 2 pillars down. He prays the prayer. You can find it in here. And God strengthens him. He brings this thing down. With this and himself too. He committed suicide. He did. But he committed his suicide to the Philistines. Unfortunately, he says, God, if you give it to me, I want to avenge the Philistines for my 2 eyes. When it really should have been more God people, Judah. It was always about himself with Samson, and that was a sad point. But I want to tell you a few good things about Samson. But it ain't all bad. And Samson, you know, had some strong points as well. Just read and study his life of Samson. It was 3,000 men of Judah come to deliver him over to the Philistines because the army was about to attack him. And he said, I'll go with you peaceably. Just don't come at me to kill me. We won't kill you. We're just going to battle. Samson never attacked his own people. He never fought his own. That's a good thing. Because people today, they can't even do their own self. They fight, their families fight one another. Friends fight one another. Christians in churches fight. Killing their own kind. Ought not to be like that today, folks. Another thing was, he believed in God. That's why he told Delilah right there close to the end. He said, I've been in that. I live, but at least he knew who he was. And he also never lost total faith in God. Again, he didn't do what was right. But he still believed in God. He still knew God was real. Another thing, when the chips were down. You got to hand it to Samson when things did go bad. Here. Look, these are things, folks, that people can't even grasp today. And as he served the Lord. In his last breath, he brought the house. And how many of us today, how many of people that you know can say even these things about themselves? Preacher, I want to serve the Lord. I've heard it so many times. I want to serve the Lord. Preacher, I'm going to do this. In one ear, out the other. I've heard it so much. I can't hardly believe it. Now I want you to think about God a moment before I close out. Always showed mercy on Samson in his life. God always did. Every time there, God never walked away from him until Samson walked away from God. Because Samson departed from God. He had broke his vow to God. He had denied God. He betrayed God and God's trust. And so God, life, and we live that life. And you say, well, I would never do that. Well, if you ain't making him part of your life, what are you doing? From God, God's not going to be there for you. You're not there for him. That led Samson out there. Samson said, we take him to the support pillars. God, you. How many times I've seen people and people would come to church because they had youngins that took them. That's why they're in church, because the youngins took them. Church while they come to church. get them in here. Get them here somehow or another, right? People here one way or another. If you got to buy them a meal or offer them, you know, a cup of coffee or, you know, whatever. Bring somebody to church. Everybody needs to go to heaven. Because of this little child God used to bring the house down on the Philistines and to kill 3,000 people. More than Samson did at the end. God gave Samson power. Came back. Nevertheless, Samson's hair grew back again after everything he did. No matter what we do today, no matter what we have done today, God's that merciful with us. He's there to save us. He wants us to have a relationship with Him. He wants to talk to you and you talk to Him in prayer. He wants you to get better. The closer we get to God, the better our life's going to be. It's the truth. Like Samson, the worse our life's going to be. Stand with me as we close out.